All right, and welcome. And you're listening to Geek Vice, the official podcast of talking to yourself in a dark room. Speaking of talking to yourself in a dark room, our host loves to do that. Here he is, Morph.
That's what I do now. I'm talking in a dark room, except the lights are on. So, welcome everybody to Geek Vice, episode number 97. Two geeks struggling to be heard across the vastness of the World Wide Web. We dare to go where millions of men had gone before. I mean, really, someone had to show us how to do it. Thanks for joining us in our geekdom as we discuss all things geek and sometimes relevant topics. Tonight, we're going to talk about cereal and Jessica Campbell Jones, and that guy over there is Kip, and I'm Morph, and I already did this once. How are you doing, Kip?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I am doing okay. Yeah. You know what? I just feel like I'm a little out of it today. I don't know why. I really don't have a reason for it.
Did you party too hard over the weekend?
No, not really. I
Did you
just
party hard enough?
maybe that's the problem. I don't think I drank. I don't feel like I'm in a haze.
Well, maybe we'll get this snap. Maybe this will snap you out of it.
I hope so. I hope so. So what did you do over this last week? Anything fun, exciting?
Oh, it's always fun and exciting around here. Actually, for the weekend, we drove to Wichita, Kansas.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, exactly. People keep asking me that. But, we do this every year. We take Holly's mom and we go and visit some friends and go check out some places. And we went to a place called the Donut Hole. And it's basically, yeah, it's not a strip club.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. But it's basically this bohemian donut shop. And they've got all these different donuts named after things you would appreciate. Like there's a Doctor Who donut and
Oh, nice.
and a Violet Beauregard donut. In case you don't know who that is, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I do, yes.
Okay.
She's the one who blows up like a blueberry.
You're turning violet, Violet. Yes,
Yeah.
that's her. So I got to try a donut that had Fruity Pebbles on the top of it.
Nice.
And for a couple of reasons. One, because I wanted to try a donut with Fruity Pebbles on it. And the other part was everybody we were with would have been disappointed if I wouldn't have ordered the donut with cereal on it. So apparently, my love for cereal precedes me everywhere I go. I don't know why, but that's what it is.
Well, and for those of you that have been sticking around with us for all 97 or 6 previous episodes, you will know that early on, Kip's tagline was a man going from the couch to the kitchen and back again, and that was because the guy was always eating cereal when we started this thing.
Damn right.
So yes, Kip has a very odd relationship with cereal.
Well, to top it off, we found this new restaurant here in town called the Chocolate Frog. And you're asking, what does Chocolate Frog have to do with cereal? Well, I'll tell you. They actually have a shake called the Confetti Blast. And the confetti is, you guessed it, Fruity Pebbles. So I just, I couldn't get away from Fruity Pebbles even if I wanted to, which I did not. So you could say my weekend was the Fruity Pebbles weekend.
So is that like your go-to cereal is Fruity Pebbles?
Not really, but it was there, so I had to have it.
I can understand that.
One thing I do like about this time of year being, almost Halloween is the monster cereals come back out. Count Chocula, Boo Berry, Frankenberry, all those.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw those at Walgreens the other day. It's like, oh hell yeah! Now they're talking to me. They're my people.
Now he bought a case of all of them.
No, but I should have. So
I'd be a little disappointed if you didn't.
Yeah, well, I'm a little disappointed in myself. So we drove to Wichita. We had Fruity Pebbles. We drove home. That was pretty much my weekend. How about yours?
Well, did a lot of non-geeky stuff. I did go to an air show. There was an air show here in the little town of Gardner, Kansas, and that air show was actually really cool because it was put together by the Commemorative Air Force. And so it's basically all of these planes were World War II or older.
Nice.
So the planes they had on the ground were, working World War II planes, and then the air show had no jets on it. There were no jets. No, it was all prop planes, just like World War II. Really, really cool. Got to see one of the last flying B-29 bombers named Fifi. So that was kind of awesome because I took the kids and they had a blast going, "Where's Fifi?" Well, that's the plane that is the size that is larger than my house. Because that sucker was huge. And it has such a wide, this is a 4-engine plane. Those of you that are plane enthusiasts, which there's probably like nobody listening that's a plane enthusiast, but the B-29 bomber is the plane that dropped the atomic bombs. So it's a big plane anyway. It's a big bomber. It has 2 propeller engines on each wing. And when it's taxiing, it can only have the inner propellers running. Like those engines they can turn on. They cannot, at the airport they were at, they could not turn the outside engines on until they got to the runway. And the reason for that was all the lighting that they have on the taxiways to kind of tell you where to go. If they turn the outside engines on, the plane is so wide that those propellers would create enough force to pull those lights out of the ground.
Awesome.
So that's just kind of that's the size of this plane. And that was, to me, that was really cool to see. Got to see a old Corsair they had flying up there, some P-14s, some, a couple stunt biplanes. They reenacted a dogfight, a World War II dogfight between a Japanese fighter plane and a U.S. fighter plane, and had them doing crazy passes. And this reenactment even included an anti-aircraft gun on the back of a truck that was sitting right behind us while we were in the stand. So that was loud. Kids were a little scared the first. Well, no, I won't even blame the kids. We were all jumped out of our seats, and I'm pretty sure there was a few people in the crowds that had to change their pants when that first shot from the anti-aircraft gun went off. Very loud, but very worth it. A lot of fun. And unlike most air shows that are done by like a company just trying to collect profits, the money paid to get into this event goes back into making these airplanes run. So this group, this Commemorative Air Force, buys these old planes and fixes them up so they can get them back up in the air. So I just think that's really cool.
That is awesome. When we were driving south, we did see a B-29 circling.
Yep.
But it was much further south than Gardner. But I wonder if I bet it had to be the same thing.
Was it on Friday?
It was Saturday morning.
Saturday morning. It actually could have been, that B-29 is actually stationed in Houston. So it is very possible you saw it flying in.
That's a good possibility.
But yeah, that sucker was cool. It was really cool.
That would have been awesome.
I did watch a movie this weekend.
No way.
We watched Jurassic World this weekend.
And what did you think of Jurassic World?
It was a movie.
You know what? You are correct.
It was okay. My wife and I kind of talked about it, and we're like, you know what? It was an okay movie. Not great. It was okay. It was especially for us. Now, the two kids loved the movie, absolutely loved it. Reese was ecstatic about it. He had a blast watching it. So I think the movie does exactly what they set out to do, and that was be a Jurassic Park movie for the next generation.
So the dinosaurs being scary didn't scare your kids?
No, not according to Reese. Reese was not scared of them at all. And I
See,
think
that's the thing is when we went to the theater, all these parents brought their kids, and it's like, this is really not a kid's movie, but apparently it is. Well, and I'm just out of touch.
I think depends on what you have your kids watching on TV. I mean, that movie, there were a few parts in it where some of the gore was there, but a lot of the times, like you would see the dinosaur go to bite a guy, and then the camera would quickly change to something else. So you never. There wasn't very often where you saw a dinosaur sit there and chew on another person.
This is true. And that would have probably gave a lot of kids nightmares if they did.
Right. So I think that was kind of that I think was part of the yes, you'd say. But yeah. So I thought it was okay. I mean, it's not going to be a movie that I'm going to keep coming back to and watch over and over again. And the more I got to thinking about it, the more I realized that really Jurassic Park wasn't that good of a movie either. The reason
blasphemy.
Well, the reason Jurassic Park was really as good as what it was because of the time period. And the movie, like the animatronics that they used for the dinosaurs and the CG and all that stuff that they had in that movie was years ahead of its time. That's really what made that movie so good, was because the time that it came out, 92, I think, 92, 93, something like that. That
a long time ago.
Yeah, that time period, like those kind of movies and the graphics that they used for that didn't really exist. So it kind of bumped that movie up and how good it was. But the story really had as many holes in it as Jurassic World did too. What Jurassic World was missing was there wasn't anything in Jurassic World that you couldn't see in another movie this year. Like, you could go see Good Dinosaur, which I think comes out here soon, from Pixar, and you're going to see realistic looking you could see realistic looking dinosaurs just as you did in this movie. Like that, there was nothing graphically that took it or that said this movie was even more amazing than what the story was. Does that make sense?
Yeah, this movie did have something that you won't see in a lot of movies, and that is a woman wearing high heels running at full sprinter speed for, half the movie.
Yeah.
You're not going to see that anywhere else. They have that going for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've got that. But you know what? Let's get on to the real deal here. We want to talk about a woman superhero. That chick in Jurassic World was far from being anything heroic. Was actually kind of annoying.
Yeah, you were rooting for the dinosaurs there, weren't you?
Yep. Yep, I was. But there's this show coming out on Netflix here in towards the end of the year. I believe it's November 20th is the date on that. November 20th, called Jessica Jones from Marvel. And, I didn't know a whole lot about Jessica Jones. So since I do these little histories once a month, I figured Jessica Jones would be a perfect character for me to do a little background on. So how would you like a little background on Jessica Jones?
You know what, sir? I would love that.
Well, let's start with, what do you know about Jessica Jones?
I know it's going to be a show on Netflix.
There you go. So we can start at the beginning of this. Jessica Jones was her real name is actually Jessica Campbell. That's her birth name. And then she ended up changing her name to Jessica Jones because her family died tragically. She was a student at Midtown High, which, if that school sounds familiar to you, that is the same high school as Peter Parker. She had a crush on Peter Parker, actually, according to the creator. And she was around at Midtown High before Peter Parker became Spider-Man. Her family went on a vacation to Florida, I believe. I believe it's a Disney World in the comics, and her father ended up, who was driving the whole family in the car, ended up getting in a car accident. And you ready for this? This is the best part. She's exposed to military grade radiation.
That happens a lot in car accidents, I hear.
You know what? This happens a lot when, your origins, there's very few things that can give you powers. Radiation and chemicals are the number one culprit for superhero abilities. Or for
too bad it's not something like lead paint chips or something. Then we'd all be superheroes.
Exactly. I just need to start spending more time with chemicals, I think.
Yeah, let's see how your wife feels about that.
Yeah. But the car accident, the rest of her family dies. Jessica Jones goes into a coma for months. She all the Wikipedia pages and all the histories of Jessica Jones make sure to point out that she wakes up from her coma after being in a coma for months. She wakes up specifically when the Fantastic Four is fighting Galactus outside of her hospital window. I don't know really why that's important at all. Like, they just seem to always want to throw that in. So
it means something to somebody.
So yeah. So since she's an orphan that's coming out of a coma, she gets basically adopted. She gets put in foster homes. She gets adopted by the Jones family. That's where she changes her name to Jessica Jones. Her powers manifest months later, and she then becomes a superhero named Jewel. But Jewel doesn't last very long, and we'll get into that here in a little bit.
Does she become kind of a folk singer and becomes really boring for a while, or is that a different Jewel?
It's a different Jewel, but that could be why Jewel didn't last very long as a superhero. They're really basically what it comes down to is Jessica Jones was created by Brian Michael Bendis. He created this character in, believe it or not, 2001 is when her first appearance was. So Jessica Jones is very, very new when you compare it to the characters that have been turned into movie properties. I mean, Ant-Man has been around for a long time. Scott Lang as Ant-Man has not. That would probably be the only other character that hasn't been around for quite a while. But the other superheroes you've seen in the movies and in the TV shows are kind of stood the test of time. Jessica Jones is new compared to all of them. She was created specifically for a title called Alias, a comic book called Alias, and this was part of the Marvel Max imprint. And the Marvel Max imprint was Marvel's idea in the early, I think it was late 90s, early 2000s, for adult comics. These comics all carried the explicit tag on the cover, say, for language, violence, adult theme type comic books. Punisher was real big in this time. I think Wolverine might have had a Marvel Max title. So there was a lot of like dark, brooding, were your anti-hero type thing. But Jessica Jones really didn't fit that anti-hero theme with Marvel Max. She fit more into the just kind of more adult themed, adult storytelling.
So her Alias run, was that the premise behind the TV show?
No,
or are they completely
nope.
Unrelated?
Completely unrelated. Have nothing to do with that TV show.
All right, if you insist.
But the Alias run only ran 28 issues from 2001 to 2004. And then she became a regular character a few years later in 2010, part of the New Avengers, and ran in the New Avengers from 2010 to 2013. She still pops up every once in a while in the New Avengers, mainly because she is married and has a kid with Luke Cage, who is kind of the leader of the New Avengers. So she kind of makes appearances, but she's kind of gotten out of the superhero market. So that's kind of where she came from in the publication history type stuff. So, you know, a lot of people are going, well, what are her powers and what the hell is she doing? Why is anyone even making a TV series about her? Well, her powers are pretty typical. She's got superhuman strength, superhuman durability. She can fly. However, she never really uses it and never really mastered it. Just kind of early on, she realized she could fly, but didn't really take to learning how to do it. And eventually, after some of her stint as being Jewel, she acquired psionic protection, basically an ability to stop her from being mind controlled.
I guess that comes in handy.
Yeah, and it's really kind of important because, and here's where the adult themes kind of begin. The adult themes. I don't mean you're seeing. You know, I'm not talking about, you know, like Isabel's adult themes. These are more adult themes, and the idea that you really don't want your kids. You know, you're not going to want a 8-year-old or a 10-year-old reading this run. So Jewel started out she ran as a superhero for about 4 years. This is in the comic book world. She ran for 4 years, but was pretty uneventful. Nothing really happened. She stopped a few crooks. She did a few things here and there, but nothing too big until she ran across a riot that was provoked by the Purple Man. And yes, that is the dumbest supervillain name ever, the Purple Man. And we do know that the Purple Man is going to be a bad guy, possibly even the main bad guy in the Netflix series.
We know what the difference between pink and purple is, right?
The grip.
There you go. I was just trying to, help the purple guy sound more interesting.
Yeah, well, the Purple Man has he basically has mind control powers. Marvel Wikipedia calls them pheromone powers. Everywhere else, it's more like mind control than pheromones. I mean, but he manipulates your mind, forces you to do things. So when Jewel tries to come in and stop the Purple Man from causing this riot, he basically forces Jewel to become his lackey, helps him out, forces her to basically live with him. He tortures her psychologically, forces her to humiliates her as a, basically turns her into a supervillain. She has no control over herself. She can't stop herself from doing this stuff. And so the Purple Man is his main arch nemesis is Daredevil. So he really wants to get rid of Daredevil. So he uses Jewel and her superhuman strength and her invulnerability, basically, to go kill Daredevil. And he sends her off to Avengers Mansion to go kill Daredevil. Why he sends her to Avengers Mansion to kill Daredevil, I have no idea, because I'm pretty sure Daredevil has never really been in Avengers Mansion. Or at least didn't spend a whole lot of time there. He's not really an Avenger type character, but whatever, it works for their storyline. In this, Jewel goes, she just walks into Avengers Tower and basically starts trying to beat the crap out of people. Nobody knows that she's being mind controlled, and her first battle when she gets into Avengers Mansion is with the Scarlet Witch. And the Scarlet Witch's hex powers basically zaps Jewel back to reality. And she basically just tries to run away. She has no idea why she's there. She has no idea what's going on, why she's doing this stuff. So she tries to run away, and, the Avengers aren't going to let somebody who just waltzed in and beat the crap out of them run away. So Vision basically chases her down and beats the crap out of her, puts her in a coma. And Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, is the only one who knows Jewel's identity. She's the only one that knows she's Jessica Jones. So she basically convinces the other Avengers to, don't kill her, don't arrest her. She's, sick and there's something wrong with her. So they take Jewel back to S.H.I.E.L.D. and S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of helps take care of her. And that's where Jewel gets her psionic protection. They call in Jean Grey to help bring her out of this coma. And Jean Grey basically helps her, helps with the trauma that she's been through from being under control of the Purple Man for God knows how long, months, and dealing with the stuff that she's done as a villain, an unwilling villain. And then Jean Grey kind of gives her some basically like a safe word in her subconscious that if she ever feels like she's getting mind controlled again, then that this can it'll trigger this safe word and protect her from that.
Okay, that's kind of funny, but
yeah. Well,
so you think this is going to be the storyline of the Netflix? Since they've added the Purple Man.
I don't know that part will be part. I think a portion of it will be, or they're going to combine this, because this is all like while she's a superhero, and I don't think the Netflix series is really going to deal with her being a superhero. I think that's going to deal with her the next part in her world is where, after she comes out of this coma, she has basically been a villain for months as Jewel. So she's done as Jewel. She basically gives it up. She doesn't even want to be a superhero. She gives it up altogether. She tries to get out of it completely. And that's where she starts a company called Alias Investigation. And she basically becomes a private investigator. And this is the part where I think the Netflix series is going to go. So I don't know. She does deal with the Purple Man afterwards, after she's in this as a PI role. She does end up confronting the Purple Man, escapes from jail and tries to come after her. And that's where her psionic protection comes in, keeps her from being controlled by him, and she basically just knocks the crap out of him. One punch, boom, you're done. Since she does have superhuman strength. But I wouldn't be surprised if this, if they do have some sort of connection here, if they try to take some of what happened to Jewel beforehand and maybe put that into If they kind of merge, they kind of twist some of this history of hers to get it all in there. We know the Purple Man's going to be in there. We know that's going to be David Tennant is the actor who's going to play that. But I don't know how they're going to work that in.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see. One of the tropes that does tend to turn me off is that mind control stuff. So I'm hoping if they do go there, they don't go there very long.
Yeah.
Or then I'm just going to be rooting for nudity at that point.
Well, and that's the other thing with this character. One of the reasons why I think this is working out, so like why this was selected, this character was selected, was because the power set that she has works perfect for Netflix. You don't have, just like Daredevil, you don't have a whole lot of special effects involved. She's superhuman strength. She has superhuman durability. She's going to look like a normal person. She's not going to be, doing crazy, weird special effects type stuff. And the same thing with, the Purple Man. The Purple Man's mind control, well, again, not a whole lot of special effects there. That could just be happening, normally. So that's where I think part of the reason why this was selected. Also, the other reason why I think Jessica Jones is being made into a Netflix series is she's had multiple run-ins with Matt Murdock. As a PI, she basically, because of her background in, as a superhero, she ended up getting a lot of cases from clients that had superhero connections. And one of her cases was somebody who was trying to discredit Captain America and the U.S. government and basically trying to make Captain America look like a womanizer. And she ends up basically getting arrested, and Matt Murdock comes as her attorney and helps her break out of jail, or get out of jail. I guess not break out of jail, but get out of jail, and helps her figure out who the criminal mastermind is behind it and stopping this person. So she does have some connection with Matt Murdock there. And, so again, we know that they're treating the Netflix series much like they did with the original Marvel movies, where they're going to have, several movies leading up to a big team Netflix series, The Defenders. So I will be curious. That's another reason why I think she was picked. Overall, I think she's really good. I think she's a good character. She does, after being a PI, she goes to work for the Daily Bugle and works in there almost kind of like, this was the reason this happened was Brian Michael Bendis basically had this idea of, I want to write this comic book called The Pulse. And it basically is a section of the Daily Bugle that deals with kind of the life and times of superheroes in New York City. Kind of deals with like, oh, hey, here, this is this superhero, and he's in this city, and he's doing this. One of their big exposés in the Pulse comic book was the identification of who is the Green Goblin. So they track down who the Green Goblin is, basically release it to the world that the Green Goblin is Norman Osborn. As if that wouldn't come out when you get arrested. I don't know how that works, but, it's Brian Michael Bendis trying to come up with new ways to bring her in and tell stories like that. And so she was there.
She was there.
But yeah, so Jessica Jones, she does end up, another one of her backgrounds is that she hooks up with Scott Lang, the Ant-Man. So I'm curious to see if maybe the timing of this is maybe not a coincidence. We have Ant-Man just came out this summer, and now we're going to have a Jessica Jones Netflix series. Could there be a possibility of maybe a Ant-Man in the background or a Scott Lang cameo just showing up?
That would be pretty cool, though, if it did.
I mean, they've been known to do stuff like that with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Every once in a while, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we get some. If nothing else, I'm almost positive we'll get a name drop of, oh, yeah, I'm going to go on a date with Scott Lang, type thing. So
yeah, I could see that happening. They love to name drop on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Especially the word Thor. They love that.
And then also in there, Jessica Jones marries Luke Cage, which we've seen pictures of Luke Cage in the stills from the Netflix series, so he's going to be in there. Big black guy who has he also has superhuman strength and superhuman durability. Basically, a big brute force.
Okay, I was wondering where you were going with that.
Yeah. I just hope he gets to wear a tiara at some point in that, because in the comic books, in his original incarnation, he was a 70s jive-talking black man. So he wore a tiara and a low-cut, disco-type shirt. So why wouldn't that work for Netflix? I mean, they're trying to be dark and gritty, right?
Absolutely. And that's what I like about it. That's what I liked about the Daredevil. So
yeah, so I think this definitely can be there is plenty of adult themes within this that could work a lot on for a Netflix series to make this very similar to Daredevil. I'm curious to see where they go with this. I'm curious to how much of it they take and how long, the Daredevil show kind of covered a finite time period, and I'm curious to see what they use and how they kind of mix this up and what characters they're able to throw in on top of this. Are we going to see maybe a Captain America cameo thing, or is this going to be more of a down-to-earth type investigation? Are we going to bring in maybe her PI firm running into Matt Murdock's, prosecution or defense firm? Are we going to see some paths cross there early on? I think we definitely can. I think it would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see how much Luke Cage plays a part in this. The big concern that I have is, this is an opportunity for Marvel to give us a strong female character. And there are plenty of holes in her story that could cause them to move away from that. They could easily change this up a little bit to where she gets taken over, she gets mind controlled by the Purple Man, and then Luke Cage comes in to save, basically save the day, which would kind of negate the whole strong female character part of it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think because it's not the Defenders or it's not called Luke Cage, I think the idea is to keep her a strong female superhero.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm going to read into it. I imagine there will be, towards the end of the season, more and more Luke Cage because I think as they try to build up for the Defenders.
Right.
But I think, and with Kristen Ritter, I think she could play that strong part really well. So it would be a lost opportunity if they didn't take advantage of that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So we'll just have to kind of watch and see what happens. I mean, we've still got a couple months um, before before we get to see what this is. But I don't know, man. I like it. I'm
I
looking
like it
forward
too.
to
I
it.
can't wait.
So, yeah. So, what do you think? Do you think that's a fair? Did I do a good job? Is that a good hero
Well,
history?
I learned quite a bit. You know, being the guy who didn't read superhero comics, I do tend to read more of the horror themed or true crime kind of stuff. So it's good to get a background on these things. I'm really looking forward to the show and just getting the background, the history on it. You know, at least I feel like I have a starting point.
Yeah.
Without too much of it going, man, I hope they do this, I hope they do that. It's more of I kind of know our background a little bit. Let's see where they go. And I think that's a good place to be.
Yeah, and I, I'd like to see, the other two movies that they're going to have that they said that they're going to have for this, for the Netflix series is a Luke Cage movie and an Iron Fist. I call them movies, series, a Luke Cage series and an Iron Fist, and both of them, have a connection to Jessica Jones. They're all friends. These three are a lot closer together than Daredevil is in this group, but they all take place kind of in this Hell's Kitchen type setting. So it's they have an opportunity here to build a really good group and a really good series out of it, and I think they will do just fine.
I do too, and I'm going into this just pumped. I can't wait to see it, and yeah. So now I've got some background, and I like the actors that they've added to the cast. So I can't wait for it to get here.
So, all right, that's what we've got for Jessica Jones. That's what we've got for tonight. But in another month, I'm going to do another hero history, or another, I don't even want to call it hero history, another character history, another history of something you guys want to know about. So email us at geekvice@gmail.com, or send me or tag me in something on Twitter and tell me who you want to know more about. Character that's either you've already seen in the movies or on a TV series, like Thor or Falcon, or we can even do somebody from the X-Men line, Cyclops or Mystique, maybe Apocalypse. Whatever you guys want to do. I will even be willing to stretch myself outside of the comic realm. You might have to bear with me a little bit, because if you're going to ask me to read a novel to tell you about a character, it might take longer than a month, because I read really, really slow.
Well, if it takes him, 6 months to get to a movie, just imagine how long it's going to take him to get to a book.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that I'm like 3 months behind in all my comic book reading. So, yeah. Part of that has to do with me going back and reading things like the 28 issues of Alias, so that I could tell you about Jessica Jones.
Yeah, it's all work for you, isn't it?
It is, but I enjoyed it. Those are good books, so I recommend people going and checking them out. I like Brian Michael Bendis' writing. Sometimes it gets a little wordy, but too many dialogue boxes. But the dialogue that he has between characters is usually pretty fun. So go check out Alias.
You know what? I probably am.
There you go. It's all done. 28 issues, all done. You don't have to worry about it being an ongoing series where you're going to have to go back and find the next one. So you can get them in You could probably get all 28 in a hardcover, or they might have it broken up into a couple hardcovers, but you could definitely find them. Any last words from you, Mr. Kip?
I just wanted to say that I like Not Your Father's Root Beer more than I like Rohard. So there's
you
that.
Go. Right, ish. Haha, writing is too wordy. Yeah. Hush it, girl. So, all right, everybody. Next week, I think we are going to have on John and Bill from Prolific Games to talk about their new Kickstarter that's out there. What is it? Call of Cthulhu?
Cultists and
Cthulhu, which is their new take on Flapjacks and Sasquatches, similar type game. So tune in next week to learn more about that and help them go to Kickstarter and search for Prolific Games or Cultists and Cthulhu to go back their new game.
Do it.
Do it.
You won't regret it.
That's right. You guys can follow us on our blog. You can check it out at geekvice.blogspot.com. You can follow us on Google Plus and Facebook. Just search for Geek Vice. You can follow that guy on Twitter at Kip Killigan. You can follow me at Geek Vice. Again, if you've got anything you want to reach out and yell at us for, or a suggestion for another Hero History, you can email us at geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody, for listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next week.
Later.